In this video, we react to Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 5. Alright, welcome back to Eat, Sleep, Nerd. In this video, we continue our Season 2 reaction, review, and discussion series as we react to Episode 5 of Season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, titled Charades. I am your dorky DJ, Corey Winter, and joining me, as always, are my nerdy friends, Jason Summer and Christian James.
Is it
Energize?
Charades?
No. Charades. If you're Captain Picard, it's Charades.
Charades.
If you're American, it's Charades.
Charades.
Charades?
Charades.
Charades?
It's not a word you see spelled out very often.
No.
It is very weird to look at. But
Yeah,
it's actually a game that I think more and more people are becoming less familiar with.
I know. I used to
Very
play it all the
much
time when I was a kid with my family, and now it's like, never happens.
You play that
Right.
with your family?
Yeah, I had a fun family.
Oops, I didn't.
You no longer have them, or are they still a fun family?
All right, so let's get into it. So, just summing up what this episode was, I got the synopsis pulled up. A shuttle accident leads to Spock's Vulcan DNA being removed by aliens, making him fully human and completely unprepared to face T'Pring's. I've never actually seen that spelled out. T'Pring's family during an important ceremonial dinner. So this was, I think, just the best of Star Trek. It was just so it was funny. I had the laughs.
Yeah,
it was lighthearted.
It was really interesting. Yeah, like seeing an expression on Spock's face
That was
alone
weird. Yeah.
was carrying the whole episode.
Yes.
The fact he was about to drop an F-bomb before the commercial break, that was just kind of out of character for Star Trek,
Yeah.
but it was pretty darn funny.
Yes.
This was kind of a return to form for me for Strange New Worlds. This was probably the first episode that made it feel like the last season for me.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I blasted right through the first season, so I can really tell you.
Yeah, you didn't really experience it like we did on a weekly basis.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Stuff just happened.
So
So in this episode, what we're dealing with, Spock and Nurse Chapel's relationships, and then are you wanting me to?
Are you going to do the thing?
I'm trying. I don't want to rip off Michael Pena, but here we go. Okay, let's see if I get this right. See, I didn't mean to do it last time, so now I'm trying to do it.
So if you have
we'll
not been
happens.
tuning into our other content, we just did a reaction video for Secret Invasion Episode 4 yesterday. You can find that on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@eatsleepnerd. And Jason did a fantastic summary of what the episode actually was, and it just had all the
Michael Pena.
Yeah, it had all the hallmarks of Michael Pena from Ant-Man. So
yeah, it was not intentional. That's how it ended up, but now it's going to be intentional. So let's see if we can do this right. Okay. All right, so we're finally hitting a normal episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. They're actually doing some exploring, and Captain Pike is like, hey, we're going to take the slow route. So they actually go to this area where they're like, the civilization had disappeared, but they actually had some advanced medical technology, but it's from way long ago. And then, so Captain Pike's like, hey, we're going to take the slow route, and he wants Spock to go check out this anomaly that's by this asteroid/planet. Nurse Chapel is told to go along because she's trying to get into the vocal science director at Academy on this little 2-month thing, and she's hoping that some sort of experiments that she works on will get her into the Academy, even the fact that she's human versus Vulcan. So they go to this thing. It turns out, temporal space anomaly, which is, that's totally Star Trek. But they kind of take a left turn because normally what happens is you do a time-space anomaly and time changes. This is something where apparently there was some sort of accident and everybody got returned okay. Shuttles outside the Enterprise is kind of floating along. Nurse Chapel's fine, but Spock is now a human. So he's having to deal with what it's like to be human without his Vulcan stuff. Turns out his fiance now has to come over with her parents to do some sort of engagement ceremony dinner thing. But he's a human, and her mom already hates him because he's half human and has a problem with his mom because his mom's human. And then, all right, take it on from there. I've run out of juice.
Well, no, that's a good spot to stop because I guess we should tell people we're going to be talking spoilers. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So if you have not seen this episode yet and don't want to be, surprised by spoilers and stuff, you might want to go watch it first and come back to this to see what we got to say about it. So,
Transformative spoilers.
So that was a good synopsis of what the setup of the episode was, Jason.
It's a setup.
It was a mouthful of not very much, but so
excuse me.
So this was a pretty character-heavy episode revolving around two characters, obviously Spock and then Nurse Chapel. So it was really revisiting that storyline about them having a little bit of a romantic spark from last season. And it was just so cute. So we really got to see Spock embrace his human side on a very heavy level. That's not the right word, but on a level he's never experienced before. He's feeling all these emotions for the first times.
Completely immersed in it.
Yes. And
Yes.
That just made you, it makes you stop and think, how would I react if I've never felt a certain feeling before? Like how overwhelming would it be if I felt sadness for the first time? Like, 'cause the first time I ever felt sadness was when I was a baby. I don't remember it.
That's true. I mean, I got kind of like that guy from the last episode where his memory was wiped. And then he remembered.
Yeah.
That's crying for like 12 hours.
Sad. So before we get into the breakdown, let's just
Did I miss an episode?
Yeah, you weren't here last week.
No, but what happened where he cried for 12 hours?
The man who had lost his memory about his family when he actually got his memory back because they got.
Oh yes. Okay, thank you. Wow, that's how forgettable that episode was.
We liked it.
Yeah, I like that episode.
So let's just talk about overall feelings about this episode, then we'll get into the breakdown. So Jason, you were saying it was kind of a return to form. So good things, it sounds like.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was definitely kind of a lighter episode. It felt much more Star Trek to me. And seeing Ethan Peck kind of being able to be
emote
human.
For the first time.
Yeah, emote. Yes, exactly. That's a good way to put it. Being able to emote, and we get to see probably more of what he's actually like as a person. So I kind of like that too. The odd predicament that it placed the captain in was funny because it wasn't like an official capacity. It was more like a diplomatic capacity, but it was a social capacity for Spock. So Captain Pike was able to be kind of the comic relief for this episode.
Yes, which he's so good at. Yeah.
Which was but not to the point to where it was like Thor comic relief. It was like for his role and character. Yeah. So across the board, it was just a really light, funny, an emotional episode as when it dealt with Nurse Chapel and Spock.
Yeah.
So, and I really enjoyed this one.
Good. Christian.
I mean, yeah, just to reiterate like what Jason said, like it was fun to watch because we were just speaking off the recording about another Next Generation episode, and it kind of reminded me of that as well. Like there were some serious kind of stakes, but it kept itself pretty light in certain aspects, and so that's what I guess I can gain from what other Star Trek episodes would be like, or any other like seasons. How do you call them? Episode, something like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
From like Discovery, Next Generation,
okay,
and all of that. But yeah, it was a very fun episode. And like I said before, it was just fun to see Spock have a different face other than that stoic face that he usually has.
Yeah, I loved this episode because there was no like planet that needed to be saved. There was no like true enemy. There was just it was the crew just kind of interacting with each other throughout the episode, and it was a very like intimate episode where it was just them kind of like the chemistry flowing with how they were like talking to each other and riffing off of each other's jokes and stuff. So I liked it. Was just it was a lighthearted episode. It just made you feel good. So let's get into just some breakdown. So I mean, yet again, because it was a pretty lighthearted episode, not a lot of huge takeaways that would maybe like set up some big plot going forward, but obviously it did deal pretty heavily with the Spock and Nurse Chapel relationship, which obviously does lead to future plot stuff. So let's just get into some stuff. So we know that Nurse Chapel opened up this episode talking about how she was excited to interview for a 2-month fellowship thingy with the Vulcans. And so she was very nervous about that, which that comes back around later in the episode. And then we switch over to Spock, who was doing his inner monologue while he was doing cooking lessons with
via
Captain
personal
Pike.
logs is how they do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is actually just a fun little thing. But yeah, he was taking cooking lessons from Pike, which I love that the cooking thing with Pike always comes back around somehow. Like they always find a way to work that in. And then they find an excuse to put Spock and Nurse Chapel together in the ship, which is actually what leads to the accident. So, first part of the episode, any takeaways from you guys leading up to the big incident?
Well, for me, from being in kitchens, like when Pike was trying to show him like how like basil smelled,
yeah,
and he was just like, "Man, I don't know what that is."
He was like, "Really? You don't really?
You don't smell that?" Yeah, and I don't know what it is about Vulcans where it's like he said it throughout the episode, like we have feelings, we just suppress them super hard. So everything else that they also suppress because it's not logical.
Well,
I mean,
they actually have what I think he was saying that have some sort of olfactory inhibitors on because of how humans smell to Vulcans. So it's not that they don't smell; it's just that when they're around humans, they suppress their olfactory senses.
I guess I missed that one.
So that's why. We apparently we humans are pungent to Vulcans.
Yeah, because I was wondering what was happening. Because when T'Pring's parents came in, they were like, "What is that smell?"
Yeah.
Humans.
So
pretty
then
much.
obviously, yeah. So yeah, then obviously we get to the ship accident that actually injures Spock and Nurse Chapel, but Spock's injury was a little different because he was hurt. But the aliens known as I believe they were saying the Carcavoni I spelled it out, but Carcavians.
Yeah, it was really difficult to say.
Carcavians.
It started with a K, right?
I think. I don't know if I spelled it right. I googled it, nothing came up, so who knows if this is right. Anyway, it's an alien species that when something is injured or broken, they fix it. And so when they saw Spock, they were like, he has 2 different DNAs. Something's not right here, but we have Nurse Chapel's DNA, so we need to match him to her. And so they made him full human, which led to his realization in the cut to black where he almost says the F-bomb. So Spock as a human.
Yeah,
we've gotten this before, haven't we? I feel like he's been.
That seems familiar.
Oh, like the pilot, right, of this series, he was a human. Like they gave him that antidote to like make him temporarily human, and when he was coming out of it, it like hurt, and so like he screamed. The very first episode of season 1. I remember it.
Yeah,
I remember it. It was in there somewhere. I promise. What were you gonna say?
I believe you. I don't remember.
Spock human.
What was I gonna say?
I don't know.
I don't think I was gonna say anything.
Okay, cool.
I just made noise.
So because of him being a human, he starts feeling all these emotions for the first time. So we got that little bit of a what do you call it? Montage of him actually experiencing these emotions for the first time, and just gets progressively more and more intense. So like you see him sitting around the table with all the other officers, and like he starts laughing hysterically because he's experiencing humor for the first time. He's in that one room with Kirk, and he's like obsessed with the
briefing room,
food on the table. Yes.
Yeah.
And then he's also experiencing bacon for the first time with his cooking lessons with
Right.
Pike, and he just loves the bacon. So my takeaway from that was when he just starts yelling at Kirk, and I'm like,
yeah, when he said, "I will end you."
Yes.
Whoa,
I will
Clean
end
up
you,
your
Kirk.
crumbs.
No,
like it's not that deep.
don't test
So
me,
apparently, untidiness is a trigger for Spock.
Yeah,
Kirk. Apparently.
Yes.
And so Noonien Singh was telling him he just needs to work on his impulse control, where
Right.
he was experiencing, I guess, lust for the first time.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. When he was looking at Noonien Singh.
Yeah, he was like,
She's like,
"Oh, I
you
kind
need
of
to
like what I feel."
work on that, buddy.
And then we see, I guess, is this the first time we're really seeing Spock's mom?
In this series, yes.
Okay, so we've seen her before.
We have. So we saw her in Star Trek 3.
Okay.
And Star Trek 4. And then we saw her in 2009 Star Trek because she died.
That's right. I remember that. Okay.
Yes. And this is the first time we've seen her in Strange New Worlds.
Okay. So in that scene...
And we did see her in The Next Generation because
Okay.
Sarek comes on board to deal with some stuff with Picard. So she is with him as well.
Okay.
So, yes, several different instances.
And then just a couple more things before we get into what the whole buildup was leading to. So when Spock's mom arrives, he is just wearing the beanie to cover up his not Vulcan ears.
Which looked completely normal, by the way.
Yeah, totally normal.
Yeah, it's
And
a uniform.
I kind of want one of those beanies. It had the logo on
Starfleet insignia on
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just funny because she was like, "Why are you wearing that?" I was like, "God, Mom,
Yeah,
because it's cool. Get off my back.
It's regulation." I also love in that scene that Pike was like doing the best he could to back him up, but he was just like so out of place. It was like,
Yeah, I have a hat. Yes.
Yes. No, I love that Pike was like the perfect wingman in this entire episode.
He was.
Like, I want a friend like him.
Yeah, he was like willing to help him out, but he didn't know where he was going to go with anything.
Yeah.
He was the first time he was experiencing anything, so he was like, well, I'll try to catch up.
All right, so that's about the first half of the episode. Any takeaways that I didn't mention?
I think covered them all.
I take good notes. All right,
Yeah.
so
I did want to say, so this episode of kind of a mix up in an alien entity correcting another creature and trying to make them, whole again, or, so that they're not damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Actually reminded me of a Doctor Who episode from when it relaunched back in 2005 or 2006 called The Empty Child, where
in the
all
first
these
season?
in the the relaunch first season,
Like the Christopher Eccleston season?
with the Ninth Doctor.
Okay.
It's called The Empty Child, and all these kids are walking around. They look normal except they had gas masks for faces.
Oh, that episode.
Yeah,
Yes.
which was the first one I saw, and it just of the new one, and it just terrified me. It was so creepy, but it was because some alien entity was trying to repair the damage, and they found a child who had a gas mask on, and thought that's how they're supposed to be. So it kind of reminded me of that episode. So it goes back to that story, or that saying that there's only 14 different stories you can tell. It's just how you tell them.
Yeah.
So in any case, a nice throwback. I don't know if it was intentional.
Doctor Who did it first.
Maybe had some inspiration behind that.
Back before it was cool.
Let's see. So then once Spock's mom finds out that he is fully human, she decides that she needs to teach him to be fully human, embrace that side of him for the first time ever.
And what was the big thing that she had to teach him how to do? Lie.
I usually don't know how to answer your questions, but that time I did.
Yeah,
You
we'd
did
be
know.
lying
Yes.
as humans.
Right.
Which kind of find out was harder than he was thinking it was going to be, because he had to, he was realizing that it was not only feelings that he was trying to express, it was like actual like pain that he would have to suppress. So part of the ritual was him like having to like hold that scalding hot cauldron or whatever, and kind of find out that's super easy for Vulcans because they just they laugh off pain, but for him it was like a scalding hot thing.
Yeah, that's like some Mr. Miyagi kind of stuff. Like redirect the pain inside of you.
I'm gonna start practicing that.
Let me know how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see you at the hospital.
But then he also has to do like the mind meld which does not go well because he just. Oh, I also love this entire thing. Yet again, it was kind of like another montage where the crew was helping him to work through all this and like teach him to be a liar. And so we have, I think it was Noonien Singh, number one, a couple other people were actually helping him. Ahura, yes, and then Ortega was also there, and they were trying to like they were teaching him how to talk like himself, and
he was like, "I really talk like that."
They were
like,
being so mean,
like,
but like
yes,
so
they're all
helpful at the
like,
same time.
Yes.
I love that. Also, I never noticed how tall number one is compared to everybody else. Like she was like 2 feet taller. Like, jeez.
That's why she made a good Mystique.
Oh yeah. Got a good high kick. She was tall.
True. So there was that, and then he was getting coaching from Pike, and who else was in that room when they were doing the mind meld?
It was number one.
Was it number one again?
Yeah,
I think it was number one again.
And they were like having to like coach him through how to like shape his face. So I just love all yet again, like that was just all of the like crew chemistry in this episode was awesome.
Yeah. And there were other parts that were pretty, that as the show went on, there were little bits that were reflective of things that we have to deal with in our everyday lives. But, Star Trek, Strange New World version of it. These entities basically, when they healed Spock and repaired the shuttle and delivered it back to the Enterprise, it was like, hey, we did our thing. We fixed everything. Leave us alone. Yeah. But it was like a warranty repair center almost.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and so they're like, is there any problem with the remediation? Is what they called it. No. So when they went to go back to talk to these entities to explain why they needed assistance to get Spock back to normal, it was basically like, you were outside your warranty period, and we can't help you. and then essentially, Nurse Chapel was, well, may I speak with your manager? Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of a retail store experience. Like, we need to return this service that you provided, and we need to get it fixed.
Yeah, the whole thing was the whole thing was like really funny, but also like stressful at the same time. They're like,
right,
everything's cool, right? Yeah. What are you talking to us for?
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Yeah.
Right. Then leave us alone.
We fixed it.
Yeah.
Leave us alone. No. So 2 things about that. So that is, I guess, the side plot or the subplot or plot B that we had not really discussed is that Nurse Chapel, I mean, she feels guilty that Spock is in this position because she was there. Like she thinks that he would not be in that position if she had not been on that shuttle. So she's feeling guilty this entire episode. She's like trying to find a cure, but also like she realizes there is no cure. So she wants to go back to those aliens to see if they can fix him. And my second point is that I think they brought back that, I guess they use it probably all the time, but this is probably one of those sets with like the like wall that they can like
the mirrors,
like that. That set was like so gorgeous and like so like whoa.
Yeah, you could do a lot with that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it reminded me of the time when I went to Meow Wolf over in Denver.
Yeah,
that immersive thing, and it was very eye catching. And it kept you really, really engaged into the episode because you're just like, you're in interdimensional space.
Yeah.
And it was very, I never would have thought to implement that kind of thing to replicate that kind of space in space,
Replicate space.
How you doing over there, buddy?
I don't know.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was cool.
It was cool. And
it was cool. Yeah.
That was my first thought when I saw when they were in this interdimensional waiting room, I guess, lobby.
Yeah.
Was that you knew if you knew the technology of the effects, you knew then that they were using the
I forget what it's called.
The immersive technology. What is it called?
I don't remember.
It's
like it's for those that are not aware, it's basically sets that instead of like green screens, what you're seeing is actually what's being displayed behind the actors, but they're actually like these giant LED panels, and so it's an entire
It's like
set made of
pre-rendered effects.
yeah, and so like the actors are actually seeing what we're seeing as well,
Mhm.
but they're just these giant. It's essentially a set made up of a series of huge TV screens.
Right.
But like they're super crisp, super clear. So like you can make a set out of anything just using these TV screens. Which it, and we don't know for sure that this scene was that, but it definitely seemed like it would be.
Yeah, it
because
certainly
was
seemed
so
like it.
beautiful. Yeah.
And the benefit is that it also casts the correct lighting
Yeah.
on the actors. So all the shading looks right, and and I'm sure it helps their acting experience because they're actually seeing what they're interacting
Yeah.
with.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, Christian. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
All right. So that takes us into the big culminating thing of this episode was actually Spock going through the ritual with I always forget her name. What's her name? T'Pring's mother. So they arrive on the ship, and I don't know, Jason, you're probably more familiar with this whole Vulcan stuff.
Mhm.
So if you could just walk us through this, and I'll chime in when needed.
Yeah. Yeah. So if my recall is correct, the Vulcan society is kind of a matriarchal society, and one of the aspects, as the Vulcans have a very formal, very ritualistic in almost everything that they do. So that of course includes engagements and weddings and things like that. It's far more ritualistic than what we would do as a species in Star
Yeah.
Trek. How we're being represented as a species. So in this particular instance, it is the pre-wedding
It's
dinner
like
with the mom, with the fiance's mom
it's
and
kind of like
family, and
the really involved Vulcan version of asking your girlfriend's dad for their blessing.
right, but it's for the mom,
Yes.
and the moms of the respective participants get to list what they don't like about you and what you need to
Yeah.
fix.
Super healthy right
Which,
there. Yeah.
right. And of course, Spock's mom, being human, she was very gentle and kind about it.
Mhm.
And I think she recognized better than the Vulcan mom, T'Pring's mom, that it's more about ceremony and not actually trying to make somebody feel small and inferior. So she performed it as the ceremony and was gentle to T'Pring, and then was criticized by T'Pring's mother about being that way, and like, your human is showing.
Yeah.
So, so in any case, they go through the process, and at the end, Spock passes, but then T'Pring's mother says, "Well, despite your human influences, you've passed." And he took great offense to this, because, of course, he's half human. So, he goes into full defense mode of his mom, of his humanity, and basically he's like, I was human the whole time. Pa! And see, I could do this. And so, which did lead to, and she did, the mother did gain a modicum of respect for him,
Yeah.
at that point, and everything seemed to go well, except T'Pring was like, "Why didn't you talk to me about this? Do you
And I
not
mean,
trust me enough
he
to bring this?"
almost
Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel like she was
he
kind of
didn't.
over exaggerating with the whole thing. Like, it was probably a buildup of, yes, he's been on the Enterprise for a very long time, and so they haven't really been together, really, as in fiancés. So I feel like she was attacking him for that more than him not telling her about the situation. Because I feel like if he did tell her, it'd have been very obvious, and the whole thing would have been bupkis anyway.
Well, you also would have had an episode.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
And all throughout this scene where they're going through this ritual, just Pike's reaction to everything yet again, just spot on. Like when her mom says, "Spock, you are a disappointment." Like Pike's face right then. He just like, I think he was like drinking something, and like he like just silently like turns away from the camera and like awkward. And
then when
where
Spock got pissed off, that was hilarious. When he goes into the other,
he's
like, I need to use the bathroom. He starts throwing air punches. Then he screams into a pillow.
We've all been there.
Yes, it was.
And then we got to talk about where the actual title of this episode comes in: Charades.
Charades. Charades.
Charades.
Right. Charades. Charades. Yes.
The very important human tradition of charades.
Right. It's a formal. Yes.
Yes. So that was Pike's attempt to kind of stall a little bit, while they tried to get a cure for Spock. So,
and of course, there's the overarching meaning of charades, because the entire episode was about
it's a charade.
Was a charade. Yes.
A charade.
Whether it be your emotions to someone else, whether it be pretending to be Vulcan when you're actually human, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Right. The facade charade. Charade facade.
Yeah.
Yes.
Poor Corey. He's just.
No, you guys are doing great. So then, obviously, we had the whole breakup thing. But that led to what we've all been waiting for. A big old smooch between Spock and Nurse Chapel.
Yeah, it was good. Yay.
And it was good.
So cute.
It was it was nice.
And what I loved was that at this point, Spock is back to being Vulcan again, because Nurse Chapel saved the day. But right before they kiss, he was like, I don't want to suppress this feeling anymore. I'm just like,
yeah.
Poetry.
That one hit. That was a good line. But I also want to point out when like he was still human before she stabbed him. And then like right when she stabs him.
That's before she stabbed him with the medicine that fixed him.
Yeah.
Just so you're we're clear.
Yeah. With the medicine. Stabbed him with the medicine. Right. You can see once she stabs him, his face goes right back.
Instantly. Yeah.
Like I'm like,
yeah.
Ethan Peck.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of funny that we're applauding Ethan Peck's acting in this episode, where he's just being a normal human, while in other episodes he's having to like do this like stoic, like no emotion at all.
And that's where the applause comes from, because it's like no matter what's going on, his face doesn't change.
Yeah, and
he got a whole episode where he get to change his face, and then his pullback right back in the character.
Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I loved it all around. And there was so much more I just want to talk about. I mean, there's nothing to say. You just got to go watch it.
Yeah,
go watch Pike.
Great episode.
That's why I wanted to go watch. I just love Pike. Pike's great. No, I love this. This was a great episode. So let's score it like we always do. So as a reminder, because this is a relatively episodic show, we actually score each episode individually, and then we average all those scores together to give us an overall up-to-date score for the entire season 2 as a whole. So before we do the new scores, currently, Josh, who is not here, has been giving it a 5 across the board. Jason, last time we talked with you, which I think was 2 episodes ago, you were averaging out to a 4. I have been averaging out to a 4.75, and Christian a 4.5. So all told, currently our score is sitting on a 4.56. But now, after 5 episodes, how are we feeling? I want to go first. I think it's pretty clear. 5. Loved it. Great time.
5 what?
Might go watch 5 pieces of bacon out of 5.
Nice.
Nice.
I like it.
Or
Christian.
I'm go back to it was a pretty good episode. Loved it. I enjoyed it the entire time. So I'm gonna give it 5 teenage emotions out of 5.
Nice.
And obviously we're not going to change Josh's score. He's not here, but I'm assuming he'd probably give it a 5. Jason.
All right. So I had a couple things though that I did want to nitpick on.
Of course he did.
Sorry.
It wouldn't be you without them.
one was So it turned out Spock deflected the
Scotty's
shields.
not here yet.
Spock deflected the shields in the shuttle to protect Nurse Chapel.
Mhm.
And that was like a linchpin for her making her decision on whether or not she wanted to continue to help Spock out.
Yes.
Okay. Although I get what they were trying to say, Spock would have done that with anybody because that's who Spock is. Spock would have protected them first. It wasn't because his feelings for her. He would have done that for anybody. But they were trying in the episode. They were trying to make it the linchpin for a relationship thing.
He also described that he would have done it because Vulcans are tough enough to take a crash like that.
Exactly.
So they kind of covered it up without actually saying it.
Well, but what I'm saying is that they were trying to make it seem like he did it because of his feelings for her, and that may have played a part. But I'm just saying he would have done that for anybody.
Yeah.
Also, dang it, I wanted Captain Pike to start exploring the dang galaxy again. I mean, these little character episodes are great.
Well,
but let's go explore.
I think the reason they're doing that is they're trying to lengthen his time on the Enterprise because we're already halfway through his 10 years on the Enterprise as the captain. And so I don't think they want to move forward in time too far because then we're cutting closer and closer to his...
I'm just saying. I'm ready for some exploration.
We got to waste some time a little bit.
We got like 5 episodes left, something like that.
Yeah.
In this season, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but in any case, really great episode though. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5.
I mean,
disappointing.
It's better than last episode or last time.
It's true.
Like it was so bad, it didn't even want to take your score, Jason.
Yeah. All right. So with those new scores, not a big change overall, but that puts us at a 4.63 out of 5 for the entire season 2 of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, season 2 after 5 episodes. So still pretty freaking good. If you like Star Trek, we highly recommend for both relatively new relatively new watchers, but also existing Star Trek people that have been watching for years and years. It's a good show for everybody.
Star Trek people have been watching.
Star Trek. All right, that's going to wrap us up for this episode of Eat, Sleep, Nerd. Make sure you come back for more stuff that we are going to be doing videos for. Obviously, every week we have our podcast episodes on Tuesdays. We have our Secret Invasion reaction videos every Thursday for the next 2 weeks as we wrap up that show. And then obviously more Star Trek Strange New Worlds reaction videos for season 2 airing every Friday for the next 5 weeks. But we also have some movie reviews coming out. We have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. We have Oppenheimer, Barbie, and maybe some more stuff. We'll see what happens. But also some video game stuff. Some vlogs coming up soon, and just who knows what, we got some surprises. So
it's a lot of stuff.
We got lots of stuff.
Wow.
Oh, Corey.
Okay?
All right. Before it gets even more crazier in here, more crazier.
More crazy.
I think it's crazier.
Live long and prosper.